Any conversation about the future of startups will be incomplete if we don't talk about data security and privacy. Today's digital first world brings with it its own set of complexities arising due to data explosion, hybrid workplaces, and an evolving regulatory landscape. So, what should startups do to ensure that security and privacy are part of their DNA as they scale and as they accelerate business growth? Samir Aksekar, the Chief Information Security Officer at Tata Digital, and Sudip Banerjee, Field CTO APJ Zscaler, shared their perspectives with Dhanniya Venkatasalapathy, the Executive Director, Cloud Solutions at Microsoft India.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Microsoft Future Ready Startup Week. Cybercrime is predicted to cost organizations a whopping 10.5 trillion annually by 2025, up from 3 trillion a decade ago and 6 trillion in 2021. In such scenarios, the discussion that we've picked for the panel today is how can organizations ensure that they adopt security and privacy while all the while they stay focused on scaling and accelerating their business growth. How can businesses build, innovate and grow, ensuring compliance with all the regulatory asks around and also help set up the right internal governance frameworks to adapt to any situation. So we are here as a team to discuss all of this today. My name is Dhanniya Venkatasalapathy, and I am the Executive Director, Cloud Solutions at Microsoft India. I'm extremely excited to be here today and host two of our privileged guests and to engage in a conversation with Samir Aksekar, Chief Information Security Officer at Tata Digital, and Sudip Banerjee, the Field CTO, APJ of Zscaler.
Thank you, Dhanniya. Highly appreciated and looking forward.
Hey, thank you, Dhanniya. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Samir and Sudip, a very warm welcome to the Microsoft Future Ready Startup Week. Security truly is a battleground for all security professionals and vendors alike. You know, Microsoft blogged and reported almost 9.6 billion endpoint malware threats, 35.7 billion phishing attacks, 25.6 billion identity attacks as recently as a few months back. And so it's important for us as a team to understand how our panelists are arming their organizations to be ready for this big battle. As it stands today, Microsoft is now a security leader across 9 Forrester and 5 Gartner industry categories with more than $15 billion of security business. And we are planning to invest almost $20 billion over the next 5 years on R&D alone to advance our security solutions. So with this backdrop, Samir and Sudip, I'd like to go in that order. Do share with us what are your unique security needs as a startup organization and how do you envision and how did you go about envisioning your security strategy? Samir, we can start off with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dhanniya. From a security strategy perspective, my first focus was to ensure that it is aligned with my business goals. Right. So we first looked at what are the business goals, what do they want to do there, and then sort of mapped technology risks against those business goals. And then finally saying, how do I address these risks as well as the business goals is what I then drafted my information security program. So I think that is it's important, it's key, ensuring that our strategy or the security strategy is linked to business objectives. It's a business aligned one so that any change there, we can calibrate the risk, we can manage them better, and obviously we can fine tune our information security program. And that sort of gives me a sort of almost a single one pager to take it to senior leadership, take it to the board saying, look, this is how we handling our security strategy. And then there is an underlying level of depth in terms of, okay, then what are the information security program objectives, principles, tasks, tactics, then it flows from there. So from a business perspective, they can see how their business objectives are supported by security and also for our security team then to understand how they tie up all the way up. So that focus and that lens helps.
Yes. And talking about Zscaler, Dhanniya, we are a little different from a startup in the sense we are also a cybersecurity solutions provider. But we do work with a lot of kind of enterprises as well as startups to improve or shore up their security defenses. And like you mentioned, all these figures looks very scary because in this COVID times, in the pandemic times, every attack vector, be it ransomware, phishing, it has gone up like 2x, 3x, 5x. You can take any number because for the adversaries, it's like once in a lifetime opportunity of how much damage they can cause and how much of kind of ransom they can collect on that, right? The way we try to do it is Zscaler is positioned as a zero trust exchange, and what that means is that in this modern world where users can be anywhere, right? Like most of us are working from home, and our applications also could be anywhere. For example, enterprises, big or small, they are taking a huge benefit from cloud SaaS applications. They're using cloud service providers such as yours, putting stuff on Microsoft Azure. And so when users are connecting from anywhere and applications are everywhere, we are trying to be a broker in the middle and try to provide a zero trust connectivity, which improves two metrics, which improves the security for the end company and the users, as well as it also provides a smart connectivity. Because it's also important in today's context to give very fast and accurate kind of access into applications. And we will talk about a few of these strategies as we go along.
So thanks for bringing this out, Samir and Sudip, the way you tackled setting in the posture for your organization and the strategy. And it's coming out very clearly with such unique needs. The security posture in the startup ecosystem must be quite challenging because it's a very important part of the puzzle, aligning the security strategy to the culture of your organization. So Samir, I'm going to ask you this question. Typically, startups are seen as a cultural hotspot of talented individuals coming together from various backgrounds. They completely enjoy their freedom of getting things done right now and, if possible, even earlier. That's the way they look at it. Nothing can constrain them. However, in many cases, security deployments are perceived as not being agile enough to match the speed at which they want to grow their business and the speed at which they are thinking about it. So how do you think startups can deal with this challenge and how are they going about it?
Sure. Very interesting question, Dhanniya. And I had this similar challenge when I joined Tata Digital almost a year now. So I'll answer it in two ways. So first is I'll give an analogy in terms of cybersecurity to the brakes on the car. If your brakes are functioning well, you can go at a higher speed. Correct. And then it is up to you, your capabilities, your insight, and the risk levels in terms of how do you want to manage it. Correct. So the brakes basically enable you to go faster. Cybersecurity as a function must act as a business accelerator. Correct. It must enable the business leaders, give them the knowledge that they need to assess the risks. Correct. As well as the tools to mitigate the risk. Correct. So I think in that way, cybersecurity function becomes an accelerator versus sort of a hiccup. In terms of your earlier part of how do you scale from a startup and you have diverse individuals there, and how do you scale it up from a very startup to a medium sized to a large organization? I think we need to keep things simple in cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
We can start with simple thing like an inventory management as an example. So one, do you have an inventory of your assets, of your hardware, of your software, of your data? So assuming if you have an inventory of your hardware, then I know, okay, what configuration management can be deployed on all these assets. For all this hardware, do I have all of the accounts under access control? Are all of the privileged accounts under break glass? What is the configuration management I've got on all of these assets? Correct. Then what is the logging I have? What is the backup I have? Correct. So, and then similarly from a data perspective, do I have the right security in place on them? Do I have the right information protection controls on them? So starting with a simple thing like inventory, you can then keep growing and maturing it as you go ahead. So the way I would say it is really take a simple idea and take it seriously. If you've enabled say a real-time comprehensive inventory in your environment, in your organization, you've taken a massive step towards securing your organization. A classic one would be Log4j type of vulnerability where people spend huge amount of time trying to identify where all is the Java library being used. If you knew it with your really comprehensive inventory, you would have got it. Yes, these 3 places, I need to lock this down. So start simple, but take it seriously and then move from there. I think that's the way I've approached it in Tata Digital as well.
Very nice. I love the analogy of the brake accelerator and also the point about keeping it simple. Thanks. Thank you, Samir, for sharing that. Well, you've made it very simple, but the fact is it's a very tough balancing act, that we ensure we give our employees both flexibility as well as security served to them without creating any lag of any sort on their growth aspirations, right? So anyway, I think for us also, it's been a good learning over the last couple of years as we have worked with many organizations, moving them into a hybrid environment and, supporting with many such things that you talked about, multi-factor authentication, conditional access, Windows Hello, passwordless solutions. All of this have sort of come in the way of enabling employees to be able to effectively work rather than, sort of obstructing them from achieving their goals and their growth aspirations. So, Sudip, I'm going to come to you. Security by design has become the topmost priority for most organizations. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit about how you ensured you got security by design built into your startup, and also more importantly, talk about what are your views and how do you coach other organizations with whom you work and you consult on ensuring that you inculcate security by design as a key differentiator vis-a-vis doing this as an afterthought.
Great question, Dhanniya. It is a most onerous task to change mindset. And we as technology people always talk about technology. But frankly, I guess, culture and the way that culture spreads toward an organization can often become impediments into, true implementation of security standards, all throughout the org. The way we try to kind of embed security by design is by kind of looking at simplistic goals. Why should users be kind of bothered about so much of security technology, what is lying under the hood? Instead, it should be like a silent river which like flows, right? And it does its job. It takes users to their destinations and make them do their day-to-day work, and kind of keep it simple. What we try to also inculcate is coming from a legacy technology world where there were best of breed point solutions for multiple control areas, right? What was missing was the simplicity and all these logs and data which made sense, easy to correlate. So the downstream, maybe SOC or cyber threat operations can easily look at emerging threats or how to put in the remedial controls. So I guess simplicity is thought about and built inside the design. And as I mentioned, we have always placed equal emphasis on both security and seamless user experience. You cannot get one at the cost of other. You have to improve both. So that has been like a mantra of Zscaler right from the beginning of the company.
Sure. Thanks, Sudip, for sharing that. And I'm going to switch right back to Samir. So, Samir, from whatever you've said, it looks like you've approached security as a team sport. So in that context, when you work with a partner, for instance, a Microsoft or any other partner, how would you like them to support you? And what is your advice to the audience? Because they might also be looking out for some advice from you. What are the things that the audience should be watching out for when they're working with partners?
Sure. I think when it comes to partnership on the security front, the first and foremost that I would look for in my security partnership is the trust in the ability of the partner to deliver, correct, and how the partner delivers as well. So that is absolutely crucial for me. A second area where it is important is in terms of so how I get an experience to thought leadership, correct? So what sort of thought leadership they expose me to, because given the size of the domain of cybersecurity, it's not possible for one team or an individual to be across. So you really rely on your partners to bring that thought leadership to you, and so then you can make decisions, you can make informed decisions. The third one is there should be a good amount of friction in that relationship. It's not that we just nod the heads, correct? It should be we challenge each other so that we get to a better solution. Is what I would put it. In terms of my advice to my peers and colleagues in the industry on the security partnership front, I'll take a slightly deviate approach. One is I would say start with, if you're a startup organization, correct, in that way, start with the right people, correct? Start with the right people, empower them and get out of their way, almost, correct? It's the first way. Get the people in place, get the processes in place. Correct. So you have then the processes in place, and then you come to the tech. So when you come to the tech, as you're getting strategic partners involved, correct, go all out with them. Correct. In native security, easier to integrate, easier to implement. Correct. Obviously, with volume, when you go full on with them, you get volume discounts. So from a cost perspective in your startup journey, it helps you. Correct. And also because of a strategic partner, they'll bring in a lot of hands and feet and talented individuals who can help you with the implementation, help you with the thought leadership. Again, at a startup journey, it will help you. And then as you mature, as the organization matures and grows, correct, you have more people on your payrolls, then you can sort of explore, okay, in which niche area I want to bring in another partner, correct, where I want to get someone else. So it's a journey, correct? And that was what my recommendation would be.
Very nice. Very well said. And a natural segue actually to my next question, where you touched upon people, process, and then comes technology, right? And we have just been discussing the technology portion of security. The most critical part is the people, the talent by itself. And a core philosophy for each one of us at Microsoft is how do we go about empowering every individual and every organization on this planet to achieve more? We hold this very close to our hearts. So, and in order to achieve this, we have launched quite some skilling initiatives. We work with customers like you. We work with partners like Zscaler. And I don't know if you've heard about it, the Project Cyber Siksha initiative, along with the Data Security Council of India, with support from MeitY, it has been our attempt at ensuring that we broad base security industrial talent in the market. So, and with that, Sudip, I'm just coming over to you. I'm sure you face talent related, supply chain related challenges in your organization. How do you ensure that you have the team with the best skills in the market always available to address complicated and differential customer requirements, and also for implementing your own security posture? How have you looked at it, Sudip?
So Dhanniya, so I am fortunate that I don't have that people part essentially. So that's up to HR and all. Cybersecurity talent is always in short order, right? So it's always a constant fight. Luckily, Zscaler, is kind of like a front runner in certain parts of cloud security, and the talent wants to engage with us. So we are not feeling that kind of a shortage acutely. But when I look into my, my customer ecosystem, right, be it startups, be it, maybe large enterprises, that is a very, very, tall order, right? And they are always on the lookout for better talent. Often they have to make do with a very skeletal cybersecurity team inside as employees, and rather kind of work with a lot of partners for running things like managed security services, SOC operations, cyber threats, so on and so forth, right? So it's always a mixed bag, but I think it is going to be even scarier, in the days to come, looking at the shortage and that skill gap increasing day by day.
Interesting. And you sort of alluded to the same point Samir mentioned about at the initial part of the journey, you rely more on strong partners who bring in those skills to the table. And after you settle in as an organization, you're working continuously to improve your own talent pool, right? Your own internal talent. Good. So we've been having some very, straight conversation. Now it's time for rapid fire to turn on the momentum a bit. So Samir, here you go. I will have 3 rapid fire questions for you and you can shoot. Your mantra for security.
Keep it simple.
Great. 3 security trends that you follow.
I think I'm following specifically around passwordless is key. I'm following all of the evolution around threat hunting and how do you consume it in a manner given the geopolitics environment. How do you consume it across the organization? And third is the capability to, from an artificial intelligence perspective, to really leverage data, to leverage security data, and then try and automate and predict some of the control effectiveness.
Super. Very ahead of the curve trends, and we look forward to learn a lot from you for shadowing you. All right, the last one. What do the below words mean to you? Zero trust.
Mindset.
SecOps?
SecOps is proactive. IT ops and information security is proactive.
You associate that with proactiveness. Excellent. Thank you, Samir. So Sudip, over to you. Your mantra for security?
Zero trust. Never trust anything implicitly. Always have a explicit verification, of trust.
Excellent. And your top 3 criteria for gauging security solutions that all businesses should follow?
Security at the edge, particularly with impending 5G, IoT, OT kind of things coming. AI is the impact of AI and big data analytics on security. And maybe third is how to tackle security talent shortage.
Excellent. I thought you were relying on your HR to do that for you. Okay. Would you rather be cautious or be bold in your approach?
We have to trade a path which is in middle, but I would be a little bit on the bolder side because the world is, needs a kind of, strong technology and strong culture, and there's so much of headwind that you have to forcibly make your path.
Okay, so fortune favors the bold. Okay. Hybrid with security or secure hybrid?
Difficult, but I would say secure hybrid.
Okay. All right. Good. So I'm not asking you why, because it's a rapid fire. So thanks a lot for your time, Samir and Sudip. I'm sure, given your experience, having worked across organizations, across customers, partners, it would have been a very insightful session for all the attendees at Future Ready, having had the opportunity to learn from you. So I look forward to working closely with all customers and partners like you to create a safe and secure cyber world from the Microsoft stable. So signing off from Future Ready. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.